Justin Bieber walked into the conference room, and what happened in the next 47 minutes was about to destroy a $50 million deal. But wait a minute. Nobody in that room knew what was coming. September 15, 2023, New York City, Manhattan, the 47th floor of a glass tower. Inside, 12 executives from one of the world's biggest fashion brands were waiting. Armani suits, Rolex watches, leather portfolios. They had been preparing for this meeting for 8 months. Let me tell you what led to this moment. March 2023. The fashion brand's CEO had a vision. They wanted Justin Bieber as their global ambassador. 3-year contract, $50 million, the biggest celebrity endorsement deal in their company's history. Justin's team had reviewed the contract. His manager loved it. His lawyers approved it. His financial advisors said it was smart. Everything was ready. But here's the thing. Justin had one question. Just one. And nobody took it seriously. The meeting started at 2 p.m. sharp. Justin arrived wearing a simple black hoodie and jeans. The executives were in their power suits. The contrast was obvious. The CEO presented the vision: billboards in Times Square, TV commercials during the Super Bowl, magazine covers, social media campaigns. Justin's face would be everywhere. Justin listened. He nodded. He looked at the contract. And then he asked his question. The room went quiet. The executives looked at each other. One of them laughed nervously. The CEO cleared his throat. The marketing director opened her laptop. Justin asked again. This time, nobody laughed. Because here's what nobody knew. 3 weeks earlier, Justin had been in Bangladesh. Not for a concert, not for publicity, completely private. He wanted to see where fashion brands manufactured their clothes. What he saw changed everything. August 23, 2023. Dhaka, Bangladesh. A factory in the Ghazipur district. 6 floors, no windows. Temperature inside was 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Women sewing for 14 hours straight, some pregnant, children carrying fabric bundles, boys maybe 10 years old, girls maybe 12. Bathroom breaks, 10 minutes per day total. Justin had disguised himself. Baseball cap, sunglasses, fake press credentials, a local guide from a labor rights organization. The factory floor was deafening. Hundreds of sewing machines running, the smell overwhelming, sweat, chemicals, desperation. One woman at machine 247, maybe 35, but looked 60. Bleeding hands, dirty bandages. She kept sewing. No choice. Luxury jackets, black leather, gold zippers, designer labels, $2,000 each in stores. Her monthly salary, $95. The guide whispered, she'd worked 21 months to afford one jacket she was making. Justin documented everything. Conditions, wages, safety violations, locked doors, blocked fire escapes. This wasn't about fashion anymore. This was about human dignity. And then he researched. He spent 3 weeks investigating. Supply chains, factory conditions, worker wages, child labor, environmental impact. What he found shocked him. The fashion industry was built on suffering. Millions of workers in developing countries. Poverty wages, dangerous conditions. No unions, no protection, no voice. And the brands? They knew. They always knew. Back in that Manhattan conference room, Justin's question was simple. He wanted to know about their factory workers, their wages, their conditions, their rights. The executives tried to redirect. They talked about quality. They mentioned certifications. They showed sustainability reports. Justin wasn't buying it. He pulled out his phone. He showed them his photos from Bangladesh. The factory. The workers. The conditions. The room froze. The CEO's face turned red. The marketing director closed her laptop. The legal team started whispering. And then Justin said something that changed everything. He had one condition, just one, non-negotiable. Transform the entire supply chain. Fair wages for every worker, a minimum of $400 per month globally, safe conditions in every factory, proper ventilation, 8-hour workdays, real bathroom breaks, emergency exits that worked, independent audits every month, not by company consultants, by labor rights organizations, by unions, real transparency, and zero tolerance for child labor. Any factory found using children would be immediately terminated. The room went silent. The CEO tried to negotiate. He leaned forward. He explained the costs. $180 million over 3 years. Profit margins would drop 22%. Shareholders would be furious. Stock prices would fall. The marketing director showed focus group data. Consumers said they cared, but only 12% were willing to pay more for ethical products. The legal team mentioned liability concerns. Admitting current conditions were inadequate could trigger lawsuits. Justin listened to everything, arms crossed, face neutral, eyes focused. He let them finish. Every argument, every excuse, every rationalization, and then he stood up. He walked to the window, looked at the Manhattan skyline, turned back to the room, and here's where it gets incredible. He told them he didn't need their $50 million. He had enough money. What he needed was to sleep at night. What he needed was to look at himself in the mirror. What he needed was to not be part of the problem. The executives were speechless. Nobody had ever done this. Nobody had ever walked away from this much money for this reason. The CEO asked for time. He needed to consult with the board, with shareholders, with manufacturing partners. Justin gave them 48 hours. 2 days later, the answer came. The board had voted. The decision was final. They declined Justin's condition. The $50 million deal was dead. Justin's team was in shock. His manager called him crazy. His business advisor said he just threw away generational wealth. His publicist worried about the headlines, but Justin didn't care. He made a video, posted it on Instagram. No fancy production, just him talking directly to the camera. He explained everything: the factory visit, the research, the meeting, the condition, the rejection. He ended with one sentence: "Some things matter more than money." The video went viral immediately. 5 million views in 2 hours, 20 million views in 12 hours, 100 million views in 3 days. But here's the really incredible part. Other celebrities started paying attention. Rihanna commented within an hour. She had her own ethical fashion line. Her comment: "This is what leadership looks like." Leonardo DiCaprio shared it. He'd been fighting for workers' rights for years. He wrote about the fashion industry being one of the most exploitative systems in modern capitalism. Emma Watson posted about it. She'd been advocating for sustainable fashion since 2015. She tagged labor rights organizations. Billie Eilish made a TikTok. She showed why she only wore oversized clothes from ethical brands, and then workers started speaking out. A woman from the Bangladesh factory saw the video. She recognized the images, the machines. The woman at Station 247. She was the woman at Station 247. Her name was Fatima Rahman. She was 34 years old. She had been working in garment factories since she was 13. 21 years of her life, 21 years of bleeding fingers and toxic fumes and poverty wages. She had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son, ages 14, 11, and 8. Her eldest daughter had already started working in a different factory. The cycle was continuing. Fatima cried every night about it, but she had no choice. Her husband had died 4 years ago. She was the only income. Fatima posted her own video. 1-room home, concrete floor, metal roof, 1 bed for 4 people. This was what $95 a month bought. She spoke in Bengali, voice shaking, hands trembling. She thanked Justin. She said nobody had ever stood up for them before. Factory owners treated them like machines. Brands treated them like they didn't exist. She showed her hands, the scars, the burns, her pay stubs. $95 per month for 336 hours. That was 28 cents per hour. Workers were crying when they heard what Justin did. Someone finally saw them. Someone finally cared. The video was raw, real. Someone translated it and reposted it. 2 million views in 6 hours. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, The Guardian covered it. More workers came forward. Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, China, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka. Hundreds of stories, then thousands. Videos, photos, pay stubs, medical reports, death certificates from factory accidents. The truth. The fashion industry tried to ignore it, but they couldn't. Justin's video had opened the floodgates. The fashion brand's stock dropped. Customers started boycotting. Investors started asking questions. The media started investigating. Within 2 weeks, 3 major fashion brands announced new worker protection policies: fair wage commitments, factory safety improvements, independent monitoring. Within a month, the original brand that rejected Justin's condition called back. They wanted to talk again. But this time, things were different. The CEO had been replaced. The board had restructured. They were ready to accept Justin's conditions. But here's the twist. Justin said no. He didn't trust them anymore. He told them to prove it first, transform the supply chain, then talk about ambassadors. Instead, Justin did something else. He started his own foundation, the Fair Fashion Initiative. Its mission was simple: support ethical fashion brands, educate consumers, protect workers. He invested $10 million of his own money, not for publicity, not for tax breaks, just because it was right. The foundation partnered with worker unions in 12 countries. They created a certification system for ethical brands. They launched awareness campaigns. They built schools near factories so children could study instead of work. They opened medical clinics for workers. They provided legal support for wage disputes. But here's what made it different from other celebrity foundations. Workers were on the board, not just executives, not just advisors. Actual factory workers had voting power. They decided which brands to certify. They chose which factories to inspect. They controlled the standards. Fatima Rahman from Bangladesh became one of the first board members, the woman from Machine 247. She flew to Los Angeles for the first board meeting. It was her first time on an airplane, her first time leaving Bangladesh. She sat in that conference room with lawyers and activists and former fashion executives, and she had equal power. Her vote counted the same as everyone else's. The foundation also created an emergency fund for workers who got fired for organizing, for families who lost income during strikes, for medical emergencies, for children's education, for housing crises, real support, immediate support. They launched a mobile app. Workers could report violations anonymously, upload photos, document wages. The data went directly to the foundation. Brands couldn't hide anymore. Factories couldn't lie. Within 3 months, the app had 50,000 users across Asia. Within 6 months, 200,000. Workers were finally connected. They could organize, they could share information, they could fight back. The foundation also started a loan program, microloans for workers to start small businesses, escape factory work, build something for themselves. No interest, no collateral required, just trust. They partnered with universities, offered scholarships to factory workers' children, full tuition, books, housing, a chance at a different life. They created mental health support. Therapists who spoke workers' languages, understood their trauma, helped them heal from years of exploitation and abuse. They built childcare centers near factories, so mothers didn't have to choose between work and caring for their babies. So children were safe while parents earned wages. And here's what happened next. Major brands started competing to get certified. Not because they were suddenly ethical, because consumers were demanding it, because workers were organizing, because Justin had shown that ethics could be mainstream and profitable. The certified brands saw sales increase by 34% on average. Younger consumers specifically sought them out. The market was shifting, slowly, but shifting. Fashion magazines started covering ethical brands. Influencers promoted fair fashion. Celebrities demanded transparency before endorsing. The culture was changing. Today, in 2024, over 40 fashion brands have committed to the Fair Fashion Initiative standards. Millions of workers have seen wage increases. Thousands of factories have improved conditions. And that woman from Bangladesh? Fatima, she became a union organizer. She now advocates for workers across South Asia. She speaks at conferences. She meets with government officials. Last month, Justin visited her in Dhaka. They met at a new community center, built by the Fair Fashion Initiative, named after the workers who had suffered for decades. Fatima hugged Justin. She didn't need to say anything. Her tears said everything. Justin later posted about the visit. He wrote about how that one decision in that Manhattan conference room had started a movement. How walking away from $50 million had created something worth infinitely more. The post ended with a simple message: your choices have power. Use it wisely. The final truth? Justin Bieber walked out of the biggest deal of his career, not because he was reckless, not because he was naive, but because he understood something that many people forget. Money is temporary. Impact is forever. If this incredible story moved you, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that doing the right thing is always worth it. Have you ever walked away from something because of your principles? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to turn on notifications because more amazing true stories are coming.